G'day. Today we're doing a bit of work on a V50 Volvo 2010. Got the 6DCT450 transmission in it. Now there's issues with it. It's going into neutral, neutralizing completely in all gears, including reverse. Seems to be better when it warms up. And I've just had it out for a test run. And what I've noticed, manually, selecting the gears manually, it's jumping second gear, it's going first to third, and then there's no sixth gear. And also, just sometimes if you give the selector a bit of a jiggle, it won't start in neutral. So I reckon the range sensor's probably contaminated as well. Limited function light comes on, it's gone now, but if you jiggle it through and get it to start in neutral, the light disappears. There's definitely an issue there. And the scan there shows quite a few faults, 6 faults there. The multiplex solenoid, intermittent fault. When it's intermittent, it can be heat related, it can also be contamination related. And we don't have, it's jumping second gear and not going into top gear, or sixth. So here we're on the ATSG manual for this. If we have a look down here, in second and sixth gear, we have 2 solenoids that are coming on and one that's coming on high, and that's the CSST, or the clutch shift multiplex solenoid 2, and the CSPS2, the clutch shift pressure solenoid 2, and they operate on even gears, which is what we've got, second and sixth. We've basically got 2 solenoids there, this one here and that one there that is playing up. So it's always a good idea to check as many solenoids as you can. If you're going to re-flush them out or demagnetize them, flush them out, test them, make sure you warm them up as well, not with a heat gun. We have like a little thermostatically controlled oven. You can put them in a plastic bag, warm them up in hot water, but definitely a heat gun can sometimes damage the plastics on the solenoid, and it's a good idea to warm them up to probably about 60 degrees and test, make sure the resistances are within specs. Another issue with testing these solenoids is they don't operate only off voltage, they operate off varying the amperage, so that's another thing you have to keep in mind. But they definitely get contaminated and internally they wear out as well. A leaking solenoid will not give you a fault code, but it'll give you issues. Generally, the computer can only sense an electrical fault code if it's outside the parameters that have been set inside the computer there. So there are a few basic checks you need to do before you start any work on this. You can find that in the link I'll put in the description there. You can check that out. But we'll just drain the oil on this one and see if there are any bits of plastic in there. If there are any tiny bits of plastic, then it's not worth doing the solenoids or the range sensor. You need to pull the transmission out. Now another thing I didn't mention, we removed the cover on it and we put a whole heap of magnets on it just to try and catch as much rubbish as it can before we start working on it. And these are the very strong neodymium magnets, very dangerous. Now just make a note, don't touch these plugs here, just the drain plugs, this one and this one. So we'll do the rear one first, and we've got a little filter there that we're going to just strain the oil through just to see if it catches any bits of plastic in there. And these transmissions have different sections, that's why it's got a plug up here at the front and one at the back there. So we've got no bits and pieces in the rear section there. You can see it's pretty clean. The oil's actually pretty clean too. And we'll do the same with the front section. Let's have a peek at that one. Any bits in there? Oh, looks clean as well. So this job would warrant pulling the front cover off and replacing the solenoids and possibly the range sensor. So we're going to remove the front cover. So we've removed the airbox, the plugs, the loom clips, just so you can move it. We've moved the thermo fan just to the side a little bit. It's gone up and to the side. And the big hose that goes from the intercooler that goes along the bottom, I'll show you in a moment. The hose that goes along here and it goes along the front of that cover there, it'll just be in your way. So you can see that loom, we can just wire it up out of the way, like there. And we've probably got about 6 inches there, maybe 7, and we may have to pull the thermo fan right out if we can't get that valve body out. But we have lifted it up probably about, I don't know, a couple of inches there, and moved it to the right hand side of the vehicle, driver's side. There you go, you see the cover's off. You can see the magnet that's on the cover. All that stuff there will be stuck in the solenoids and on the sensors. And you can see there's one on the filter there, and there's another one over here. Can't really see it, but they're thoroughly covered in that muck as well. Once the magnet becomes covered like that, it can't work anymore. So the next place that's going to end up are on your solenoids, and they're on the back side of the valve body. So we'll just take that valve body out. The top 4 bolts on the left hand side of the vehicle, and all these ones down the right hand side, and then you'll be able to slide that out. Don't forget the range sensor up there as well. There's a couple of bolts on there and the plug, and there's also a pin that you need to pull out. So to get this off, you've got to push this little spring-loaded thing there, lift that little plastic bit off, up, and then you can get a screwdriver and just pop it off, and it'll just pop off the little selector there. So now we're just aligning that little tool that we made in another video. And what we need to do is select drive. So we're in park, reverse, neutral, drive. And if you watch the other video, you'll notice there's a little cam like that, and there's a little spring loaded just to keep the teeth on tension. So what that means is when you push this in, you just need to, a little bit hard to see, not much room. You just need to flex that without going out of gear. So you just need to flex without going into the next notch. Just flex it just so you can get that tool. There we go. And that's just dropped down. And I know we're in the right position there. So now I'll just mark where the D position is, so I know when I'm reassembling it, it'll go back in the right spot. Like I mentioned, sometimes it has to line up with the D, and sometimes it's one notch past the D, depending on the vehicle. This is a Volvo but it's always wise to just confirm it before you pull it all out. Just mark that with a bit of liquid paper, and the plug, there's like a little tang there, you just press that and then that plug just pulls out like that. Like that. And we've got to pull this 10mm bolt out. That's a pin that goes right through the middle of that range sensor there. That's what that is. Torx plus 20, and we'll just undo those two bolts there. Sometimes Torx Plus works better, sometimes just the normal Torx. So you want to make it nice and snug in there. You don't want to damage the little hex inside the bolt. Now we've taken the top 4 bolts on the left hand side of the vehicle off, that are down the side, the top 4 down that side, and all the ones from the top to the bottom on the right hand side. And then sometimes you need to just pry it, just make sure you don't damage anything, and make sure you've removed those 2 bolts on that range sensor or you'll damage the range sensor. Just let that drain out a little bit and then we can just slide it off, and it's located on 2 guide pins. There we go. So you can get it out. It is a tight fit, especially with the loom, but if you've got an assistant or a bit of wire, you can just tie that loom out of the way a bit, or you can undo that bolt there and this little box will just move to the side as well, and then that loom will be able to move out of the way a bit. You can see the 2 guide pins, and you can also see these metal gaskets there. Now it's a little bit hard to see from here. I'll see if I can just hold it in there, but where those little sensors are, there's a little shift fork. And you'll see that the shift forks, they are thoroughly covered in that fine metallic debris like on that magnet there. So you can see that one there, there's a little fork there. There's one in there, a little bit hard to see. There. And then down through here. You see that little plastic end there, and there's another one over in here. So they all need to be cleaned. You can just blow them out. And here we are on the ATSG manual. So I've just marked they're about 45 degrees. If you look up, you'll see them. The 1-3 fork position sensor, the 2-4, the input shaft speed sensor, you got the output shaft 2 speed sensor, and it's also got the 6th and neutral fork and the 5th and reverse fork. So it's a good idea to get in there and just I just blow it out with air. Just blow it, you'll see there's all metallic fuzz on those sensors. And another thing you can do, you can check out a video, this one here, the pump inlet, you can push a hose in there and just pump oil through there, make sure it's DCT oil. Blow it with air, you won't clean that as effectively. You need some sort of medium to actually carry the rubbish out. So oil's probably the best idea. And it'll reverse flush the filter that's located at the bottom here, along here. So we'll just blow those sensors out. Best as we can. This bottom one's pointing got it back in. Place the gaskets, solenoids, and there is a sequence of tightening that. 5 Newton metre to start with. You can see those numbers there, but I've put them on the sheet there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. In that sequence, you want to try and get it tightened up evenly, sort of like a head, and don't over torque them. Start off with 5 Newton metre and then final torque of 10 to 11.5 Newton metre. If you put a new gasket on, you can go 10. If you go reuse your old gaskets, you go a little bit extra. And now hopefully your little tool there hasn't fallen out. It's still on the same mark there. See the liquid paper mark. And now we can put the pin back in. And that goes through the range sensor. Now sometimes you have to just, because those pins are precision fit, you need to sort of find its own way through. Don't force it through, and don't definitely not tap it through with a hammer or something like that. After you've got it all back together, just reconfirm that position is the same and your little pinhole is lined up. Bolts are back in. Weave that little cable there. Make sure you push the plug in until you hear the click. Try and pull it out. That's all good. And you should be able to feel that little step of that going through just when you flex the selector there. So you can pull it out a tiny bit, probably about 1 mil, and then you should be able to feel it go on that little spring steel tensioner that sort of keeps the teeth in mesh. If you don't line that up properly, then it's not going to work properly. Okay, once you're happy with how that's all aligned, you might notice that I've got this little bit of wire there, and I deliberately have that on there. The reason being is that you don't want to put that cover on while that's still in there. Don't ask me how I know that, but yeah, that's why I've left that wire on there, so it gives you an indicator that you've forgotten to pull that pin out. So you can pull that out now. Yep. Hands all nice and clean, or the front cover, magnets all nice and clean. Smear a little bit of oil or assembly gel on there just so it goes over that plug a little bit easier. So we've got the intercooler pipe back on. Make sure you do the clamp up that's under there. Covers back on. Drain plugs are tightened up. We've replaced the cartridge and the cartridge housing on the cooling line, the external filter. The internal filter we've reverse flushed through that port I showed. Covers all on. Selector back into park. That just clicks on like that. Push that little red tang down like that. There we go. Done. Put these hoses back on over here. And the air box, we're going to fill it through here, and we're going to start with about 5.5 litres. And we're putting some Tritech brand DCG or DCT fluid. You can see it suits the Volvo Powershift 6-speed as well as the Ford, BMW, Peugeot, etc. Porsche even. Or you can also use the Penrite here in Australia, they have an equivalent. Airbox back on, all the plugs are in, we've filled it up. We might need to take this airbox off again just to top it up, just check the oil level. 5.5, 6 litres should be enough, but there's a little plug just next to the axle there on the left hand side of the vehicle. Rightio, start it. glow plugs. There's like this bit of a bearing noise here, idler bearing or something along those lines. Got movement. We'll go reverse. So there we go. Just on a road test. And it was a little bit rough going through all the gears, but we've got 2nd and 6th gear now. So I've probably done an extra 15-20 Ks, stop starting, and it's shifting through nice and smoothly now. It was a little bit harsh probably the first 10 kilometres or so, but that's all come good. I suppose the fluid's circulated right through now as well. And also the computer needs to relearn the new electrical parameters in the solenoids and on the sensors. So we've just got the live data there. You can see the shifts and the preparation of the shift. Showing. 2nd. And you've got to be doing under 35 to go into 1st. And going back up. We've got 2nd now. We didn't have 2nd and 6th gear before. 5th and 6th. Oh no, does that show it's in 6th now? Yeah. Oh, back in drive again. So it looks like flushing it out. Flushing the solenoids has improved it. So far anyway, there was a fair bit of metal in there. We're on 70 degrees. Yeah. Yeah, check the oil level. That downshifted there. Yeah, we're in 4th. Bearing into third, third. Preparing second, second, third. So we've managed to get it up to 75 degrees, and the reason why you have to do that is to make sure you've got no air locks anywhere in the transmission hydraulic system. It'll bleed all the air out, and then what we do is we've got to get it between 35 and 45 degrees without the motor running. And then we check it over here, I'll show you. Now to check the fluid level, you've got to let it cool down to between 35 and 45 degrees with the motor not running. And there's a little plug here just behind the left hand axle or CV joint. And there's a little plug there, you take that off and it should be just trickling out of there, nice thin stream. The reason why we warm it right up is to purge any air out of the hydraulic system. So we're down to 40 degrees, which is the mid-range. And we need a little bit more oil in there. Now you can fill it through there, you can, but you've got to make sure when it gets down to temperature, you've got to go through the gears, start it up, go through the gears, and then turn it off. We'll put the plug back in. Just have to put the stone guard back on now and just double check our work. Make sure we've tightened everything up and pushed all the plugs in. Anyway, I hope that helps. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave any comments or suggestions in the section below, and throw us a beer if any of this information helps. Links in the description, and when you do send it through PayPal, send it as a friend, otherwise they take out a fee. Thank you for watching.